in the universe.
All right, good evening, folks. This is David Conley, and this is Bridging the Gap, and I'm here with two guests. We've got Dominic Kilman, and we have Joe White. Pleasure to have you gentlemen here.
Thanks for having me out.
Appreciate it. And we wanted to go forward with a few questions and get some ideas where everybody's coming from on different subjects. Did you want to start, Dominic?
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you for coming tonight, Joe.
My pleasure, Dominic.
It's great to finally meet you, see you in person. So, in my opinion, we should just jump right into the questions and get it.
For sure.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on fully funding the Board of Education?
The number one thing right now with the Board of Education is we need to see what mandates the state of Maryland throws our way in the next 60 days. I'm very concerned that the state of Maryland is such a mess right now. This liberal agenda has not worked out. It's costing us billions and billions of dollars. And their way of solving this is really just to roll more unfunded mandates down to places like Wicomico County. I've seen it. I've been going to the meetings. I've seen this. Once we know where those mandates, whether it's the retirement pensions or the funding itself, and we've already seen it with Fruitland Primary, they're not going to forward fund. We have to forward fund the construction there to the tune of about $16 million. I want to make sure that we're good there. Last year we raised the maintenance of effort level, and we gave an extra $1 million. I'd like to see them at least go that far. But again, it's really going to depend on just how bad the state of Maryland treats us.
Understood. All right. What are your thoughts on lifting the tax revenue cap to fund anything?
Well, I think there's two parts of that. One, I'll say I'm not in favor of it. I have folks who ask me if I'm interested in getting rid of the revenue tax cap or just inserting a tax revenue cap, like not the rate but the amount.
Yeah.
Only 35% of our funding in this county comes from property taxes. And most of it comes from income taxes, which have been going up by $16 million a year each of the last 7 years. I don't think we need to look at raising property taxes. The thing I think a lot of folks forget, and I have this experience being a small business owner, is small businesses also pay property tax. Mm-hmm. So there's personal property tax. So even if you rent your building, you don't even own your building, but you own your tables, your chairs, your ovens, you have to account for that inventory, and you have to pay a property tax rate. So if we take away that cap rate, we could be making it more expensive just to go out to dinner, which may lose someone their very first job as a busboy at a restaurant. Or we may cost a restaurant owner their whole business. I see a lot of restaurants downtown who are working hard to stay in business. I don't think they need our property tax revenue to go up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To look at what's happened to Baltimore, when you see footage of the Inner Harbor now, it's unrecognizable. It's like I think of all my memories of going to the mall there that had the Fudge Factory and Jeppy's comic books and stuff. All of that is gone, and it's just simply because taxes just kept getting raised until nobody could afford to live there. And it's just such a shame. I mean, that's an entire spot. And I always fear that kind of thing could happen in any town.
And the worst part is the city of Baltimore still has to police that area. Yeah. In fact, I think they have more crime in that area because there's less activity, but no revenue.
In my opinion, the drug dealers don't pay taxes. So in my opinion, the drug dealers there in Baltimore are making all the money, and meanwhile, the money isn't trickling down to everybody else.
We just saw the fiscal audit from fiscal year 25 come back. Now that closed on June 30th of last year, so it's been about 7 months. A lot of good news in it. One, it was 2 months earlier than it was last year, but what we saw is the revenues from income taxes went up by $15.6 million. That's more than enough money to fund inflation on the government side. Yeah. Additionally, we saw that the departments did a really good job of spending. They did not spend every dollar that was in there. It's about a $33 million delta. So right now, the last thing I think we need to be looking at is raising property taxes at all.
Understood. All right, this question is a two-part question. What are your thoughts on affordable housing, and what is affordable housing to you?
Well, I want to answer the first one, or the second one first, right? I'm going to tell you what I've heard from a lot of politicians and what they think it is. And I think that's important to know because usually they're the ones talking about it, and obviously I'm want to be one of those folks, but they say that it's meaning that you're not spending more than 30% of your gross pay on housing. Okay, so that's principal and interest or rent or everything that goes in, HOA fees, into having that home. In Wycomico County, with our per capita income, that doesn't leave very much, especially when you see where rents are. What can the government do? The one thing I know the government can't do is continue to follow Jake Day's strategy of let's write big developers more big checks.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm a free market person. I look at areas down towards Fruitland, the areas over on Bigland Park Drive in Salisbury. There's developers who are not waiting for a handout, who are building homes. These are the folks we need to be engaged with to make sure that we're getting the regulation out of their way. I think one of the biggest hurdles we have in the state of Maryland is the Maryland Department of Environment. They're not necessarily friendly to expanding housing because of their rules are so stringent. And if we're too busy fighting over who should get this check or that check, we're not actually worrying about our own citizens, and that's something that will be big for me.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's a lot of ego play.
It is, and whenever government is picking winners and losers, unfortunately in a free market society, which sometimes can stink, but it's better than all the other ones, you're going to have folks who are well-intentioned, well-organized, and they still fail. I saw it in business, and trust me, there was days I had to work extra hard just because there were parts against me, parts of the economy against me that were no mind doing, but you got to keep your head above water. There wasn't a government coming in to write me a big check, and I was able to be successful.
Yeah, man. In my opinion, that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you believe the county needs to take on the expense of another park?
I went to James Wynn's, Councilman Wynn's town hall out in Hebron back in the summer. I just remember it was one of the worst thunderstorms we had, and it was so well attended. I thought there would be 6 people there. It was about 60 of us. And we talked a lot of things. The county executive was there. It was a great meeting. He did a nice job. In that meeting, he was proposing that we take over the park at the Hebron Lions Field in Hebron. Now, I'm a volunteer for youth sports organizations, and we use that park.
Yeah.
But it's a park that exists. It does need some upgrades. I'm great with spending some money there. I would like to see us make more of a master plan about where we're going to keep our project open space money, but I don't think right now we need to fund more parks. We need a master plan to say where we're going to be at another 5 and 10 years. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. What is your vision for growth in Wycomico County?
Well, when you look at the demographics here, 52% of folks live in a municipality. Now, some municipalities like Mardella don't have water and sewer, not by the town. We have a couple, like Pittsville. I go to Pittsville town meetings. I'm familiar with Sharptown's challenges. They're tapped out. They have as much capacity as they have. I've also watched Delmar do a wonderful job. The administration there has done a great job. They have to work across 2 state lines, to make sure they stay their head above water. No pun intended there. But we need to look at growing in our municipalities, and we need to be good stewards to our local municipalities to help them upgrade their water and sewer treatment plants. I live out in the country. I love where I live, and I've lived there basically my whole life, except for a couple of years. I want people to have the opportunity to live out there, but they need to understand that in those areas you're going to be challenged with having your own septic and well. And if that's a challenge you're willing to face, then I want people to have that opportunity as well.
Awesome. What ways do you see you could help bring back solid businesses to grow our economy? Like, businesses like Bayliner or Duo Sofa or Campbell Soup, perhaps?
Well, there's a couple ways. One, I see a great opportunity staring us right in the face, and it comes from a need.
Yeah.
I mean, in a free market society, you don't build anything without the customer need.
Yeah.
If folks didn't need windows tinted, you wouldn't tint very many windows, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have sold very many crab cakes over the years, but people want that stuff or need that stuff. We need qualified ALS and BLS paramedics and EMTs in this county. The presentation that was put forth in March and again in November showed that we need at least 92 of these. The county executive has said that this is something that she's looking hard into. It's definitely something I want to see happen. The Warwick Community College already has this as an opportunity. They already have the welding school there, and now we have the flight mechanics school out at the airport. So we're starting to see some of those bones put in place. Now we need to go through the door. And as far as going to a manufacturer, the best way to do it is to pitch the education opportunities here for our young folks so they can train them. I have a 4-year degree in agronomy, which will help with water and sewer installations, understanding that process. But I always tell people, getting a degree is really just showing that you can be trained, because any job is going to want to train you in their way.
Yeah.
So if we show that the folks who might come in here with manufacturing jobs, Chesapeake, the boat builders, they need welders. Well, we have the education ability to do it. Show those opportunities here, because if they can see here that the cost of living is low, which it is compared to Baltimore, Annapolis, or Philadelphia, and there's educational opportunities for the young people here, they will want to move their business here. We don't have to just write them checks for them to come here.
Yeah. In my opinion, though, the cost of living here is up there.
It's high relative to the opportunities to make money.
Yeah.
That's what we have to remedy. I agree with you there.
Yes. So with that being said, do you support tax credits for developers?
I'm not going to, it's not a blanket statement one way or another. I came out, I was opposed to the Horizon Fund, where we gave away property taxes in the county for 10 years. I really hated the way the city handled it. I mean, they gave them away for 20 years.
Yeah.
I have had a chance to sit down with Mayor Randy Taylor, and look, he understands numbers as well as any, and so do I. I'm a numbers guy as well. When you build that much infrastructure, you talk about downtown Inner Harbor, and you need to have fire and water and sewer work and wells put in, lift stations, don't forget about lift stations. You can't have all this building without the tax revenue coming in.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I also look around Fruitland, Beagleland Park Drive. I see development going there from developers who aren't getting a check.
Yeah.
I would start by going to them and saying, hey, what was it that convinced you to build here? Find out what put them over the top. And then if we have to find some other developers who feel the same way, then that's what we need to go out and do.
Understood. So what changes, if any, would you suggest for roads and infrastructure with the growing population?
I think we have work to do here. When we got done with the last fiscal year, which was really 2024, that's on the books. We just did get the audit from 25, but we noticed that there was $500,000 from road paving that was moved into the pension fund. Now, I agree with the fact that the pension fund needed to be shored up. At the time, it was at 72%, and now they have it at 78%. The rule of thumb is 80%, which doesn't sound right, but that's what actuarial people will tell you. If you're 80%, you're in pretty good shape. I want to shore that up, but I never really want to see us not spend the $500,000 to pave roads. I'm in District 5. I spend a lot of time going between Parsonsburg and Delmar. We are going to have a new access road out on Brown Road. Brown Road has no shoulders and a really sharp corner. It has a neighborhood that already has a 30-mile-an-hour zone, and we're going to put more traffic on it. It has an uncontrolled intersection out at Brown Road and Zion Road, and Zion Road needs to be paved really bad. I mean, there's actual structural damage out there. I also ride down Naylor Mill Road, which is going to be in my district, and it needs work as well. Now, some of that's the city, some of that's the county. I don't want to conflate fixing the pension with not paving roads, but I also don't want to not pave roads and not fix the pension.
Yeah.
And that's where you need to get all of our leaders in a room, and we need to set priorities, and you have to make decisions, sometimes tough decisions. Can the pension be funded at 79% so we can get the roads paved? That's a decision that needs to be made together collectively.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely takes teamwork.
Yeah.
So you own a business in Worcester County, correct?
I actually sold my business. I've owned several businesses,
Nice.
and I've been very fortunate over the years. I've had, had good education, I had good life experience. Right now, I run a wholesale company, which is a part-time deal. I mean, it's seasonal. It's in the mornings.
Wholesaling houses or?
No, seafood.
Seafood.
I'm a boutique wholesaler, so I go out and get high-end restaurants that high-end seafood that they're looking for.
Nice.
I'm not selling fish sticks.
Are you the reason Ruth Chris is so expensive?
No, even I don't eat there.
I could never afford to.
No.
In my opinion, that place is way too expensive.
Well, there you go. In your opinion, right?
Yeah.
No, but I do source scallops right from the harbor, crabs, soft crabs, shrimp, that sort of thing. My other businesses I sold, one was in Kent County, Delaware. Sold that a few years ago. I've been involved in others, and I still am. I mean, I would label myself as an entrepreneur. I don't operate my businesses anymore. I work with my partners, and like I said, I'm a wholesaler. I source materials, and I meet that challenge of a customer and a specific need to something somebody's catching, which will really serve me well in my political career.
Yeah, I agree. Me and you have some things in common. Entrepreneur. I can't say the word.
Entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I pulled it off once. That's all I'm promising.
Anyway, you took my last question. That was you own a business in Worcester County. How would that benefit Wycomico County? But
I think it's actually a great question from a different angle too. A lot of times I feel like Wycomico County finds itself in a position to compare itself to Worcester County, and sometimes that's right. Not always. I mean, I look at Worcester County has 9 of those mini wastewater treatment plants, and 7 of them have had major failures.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to see Wycomico County get in that business. I'd like to learn the lesson that our neighbors next door learned. The nice thing in Worcester County is they do have a huge business commercial base, which allows so much for their funding of fire, EMS, Board of Education. Wycomico County should look to what our strengths are. I don't want to always compare ourselves there. I'd like to learn a few lessons. I think that Wycomico County has all the ingredients to be the best self it can be, and it doesn't look exactly like Worcester County, that's all.
Okay. Well, this next question, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 287G bill and everything that's going on with our county executive, Julie Giordano. She actually was up in Harford County today doing a press conference with the Sheriff's Department about everything going on up in Upper Maryland. Given all the ridicule, criticism, and what some would call a dislike for our county executive, how do you see a working relationship going forward with Julie?
I definitely don't dislike our county executive. I've actually been in favor of a 287G agreement the whole time. I mean, if you go back and watch any of our episodes of Open Agenda, I've said as such. What I will never be a fan of is murky communication, and the communication started back in July. It actually came from the sheriff, who I'm a big supporter of, Mike Lewis. And Mike does a great job. I mean, like, you can do a great job and still parts of it doesn't work out. This rollout started. It took 4 months. It took too long to get out there. So we finally had our first public work session in October, and then by November it was decided to put a pause on. I went to the county executive's press conference in January at the sheriff's office. I was there as myself. I wasn't there covering it or anything. I love the way that got rolled out. I think that was the right mechanism. She even spoke candidly of why we were used the WSO model versus the JEM model. And it's unfortunate that we have to, but it's the fiscal reality of our county. We're short 30 correctionals officers.
Yeah.
So if we do the JEM model and we send 10 officers down for 3-day training in Florida or wherever they go, even Baltimore, we don't have enough staff to properly man the detention center. With the WSO model, we do. It's 8 hours of training. It's done in-house. It may not even be the best step ultimately, but it's a good first step. And the way she laid it out is exactly what I was looking for. I give her a lot of credit there. But as far as ridicule, I've actually never had a negative comment directed at the county executive. Policy, and look, that's not going to change for me. My success in business comes from not being surrounded by yes people. And I won't play that part, and I definitely don't want anybody to play the part for me. I like engagement. In fact, I'm really impressed with someone at your age that you're becoming so engaged at this point, and I hope you inspire other people to do the same thing. It would be a welcome change to what's happened in the last 30 years all across the country, and I think we're starting to see a shift there, and that's a good thing. But from my perspective, if I look at a fiscal audit that comes out 3 months late, I'm not going to condone that. Now, I listened to the reasons why, and then I was impressed that this year it only came out a few weeks late. That's big progress. That's great. I'm not gonna gripe about the fact that we were a couple weeks late. But I will gripe if the fiscal audit comes out 2 weeks before the budget's due for the next year. I don't think that's responsible. Again, I don't want to see our taxes get raised, and we need to know where our numbers are. My ability to work with county executive really comes down to my business experience. We're usually fighting the economy and not each other. So the fact is, I'm going to want to see whoever's the county executive, and I expect Julie to be our next county executive, to be successful. And to be honest with you, she's going to want to see me be successful as well.
Thank you. All right, last question for me, and then I can shoot over Dave if you have any questions. You headed up and supported a ballot referendum to eliminate the county executive position. Has your stance on eliminating the position changed?
Absolutely. My stance there was I wanted to give the voters an opportunity after 20 years of seeing how it worked, a chance to see it, a chance to vote on it. And they did. They voted to keep it. And since that time, I've been very comfortable with that. Make no mistake, I definitely at the time felt like we did not need a county executive when I look at the numbers. But that's in the past. The fact is, the voters agreed that we do. And it doesn't matter if it passed by 1 vote or 2% or whatever it passed. It's the fact is, this is what we're going to do. If all we ever do is continue to look behind us, we're going to miss. I mean, you talk about opportunities for affordable housing, new businesses coming in. If all we're ever doing is looking in the past, and we're going to miss every opportunity that comes at us, and I'm not willing to do that.
And then just one more question off the top of my head. In your opinion, how do you feel about ranked choice voting?
I'm against ranked choice voting. Not for Wicomico County. There are areas where I think it could serve, and I could give you an example. You take a big metropolitan area where maybe, take D.C. for instance. 97% of people there are Democrats. So if you don't do ranked choice voting in an area like that, then all you're going to get is like the most extreme person. And I'd rather at least see, if we're going to have that situation, maybe we can get someone more middle of the road. Wicomico County rarely has more than 2 people run at a time. So ranked choice voting would come out. I just recently did an episode on Open Agenda discussing ranked choice voting specifically for Salisbury. And with Salisbury, in the last 10 years, they've only had 4 elections where they had more than 2 candidates.
Oh, man.
And out of those 4, 2 of them got over 50% the winner, so ranked choice voting wouldn't have mattered. Another one got 48%, so I'm pretty sure that person still would have won. This really just comes down to attacking Randy Taylor. And I'm not here to defend Randy Taylor. I think he's a numbers guy. I think he's got a lot of great ideas, the way he's approached homelessness, and
done a great job of that.
And making sure that our tax dollars are only spent well, but also we're serving the most people we can. If this is just coming down to attacking him, then I think it's a non-starter. It was disconcerting to me to see last Monday that they brought in out-of-town lobbyists to advocate for this,
Yeah.
which is not illegal. I mean, that's what lobbyists do. But read the room. You're in a room full of locals,
Yeah.
and we have to bring in somebody from across the bridge. And she's also a lobbyist for D.C. and Virginia. I looked her up. Nice lady, but I don't think that message is needed here.
Yeah, in my opinion, it just seems just odd to have anybody outside come to give an evaluation on how something has to be. I mean, obviously somebody can give an outside perspective, because maybe, can't see the forest from the trees kind of a thing. But it still just seems odd to have anybody come from outside and say, well, this needs to be like that and this needs to be like that, because you could have the old farmer, say, well, I've been here 30 years doing this and you don't know about this.
Exactly.
And there's just certain things, well, as the dude would say, certain things have come to light, man. You got to look at all the things that are there and get with it, man. So
You do that really well.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't really find myself against anything. Like you seem to be pretty on point. I appreciate all of your opinions and answers. Like Dominic, like everything that you're doing for the homeless community is absolutely amazing.
I appreciate
And
it.
well, I appreciate you. I think that everything that you're doing is if to basically bring a little bit of religion, do as Jesus would do, that's what you're doing. And no matter what Romans want to say or no matter who's against you, keep doing what you're doing. And I think that goes for both of you. I mean, we look at this town and, one of the biggest commodities that Salisbury and Wycomico County have as a whole is the educational system when you look at the colleges. So, you've got the community colleges, you got tech colleges, and that is something that what you're saying is absolutely agreeable, is we do need to find tasks and jobs that we can train people at to do things here. We don't want to keep losing people, and that's the problem that I keep seeing, is where people will get some kind of work and then they'll immediately see across the bridge they can get paid more. And I always say, well, the standard of living goes up, so you may be getting double the money, but your house is going to cost you double the amount. So you have to take those things into consideration. But it's kind of like with anybody, once they go somewhere, they're kind of there now. So they kind of have to eat it and do whatever it is they're doing. Nobody wants to come back home with their tail between their legs. And so that's what we need to do. We need to have more educational options, definitely options, like you say, with welding and things like that, where we need people, we need builders. That's what we really need. Like all this talk about infrastructure, well, the first thing that comes in is, I want somebody that can do the infrastructure job, the road work job, and then go home. Because the money that they're getting paid, they trickle down that revenue.
Spend it here.
Yeah, they spend it here. And I don't want people from Annapolis coming over here to do a little bit of work and then leave at the end of the day.
Spend their money over there.
Spend their money over there. So I think you both make really great examples on the community and how we need to really bring all of Wycomico County together.
I appreciate it, man.
To bridge the gap, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's all the questions I had for you, Mr. Joe White. And
yeah, I can't really, like, I as I said, I hate to have no content, but I think you've answered everything.
I think you had great content at the end. That was really well said. I mean, and back to what I said earlier, we need young folks like Dominic who see the advantages to owning your own business, but also helping out, and helping out in a way that is impactful directly to the folks, boots on the ground. It's the thing I say, and it's something I live by.
Yeah, 'cause, there's one thing to send, let's say, our unhoused people to a facility or to go meet with some church or something like that, and then it's another thing to be out there actually helping them and giving them what they need right then and there versus them having to wait for something or stuff like that. That guy Alex, I'm gonna give out a shout out to him. He actually he got to a shelter today. I dropped him off before coming here. Congratulations. So good job. The community really pulls together and they helped Alex out. I appreciate you guys.
That's great. Well, as a moderator, I think that's all that really needs to be said, in my opinion. I think I've heard both really great opinions from both wonderful gentlemen. So I'm David Conley, and this is, in my opinion, from Bridging the Gap. Thank you all.